faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive.
And it's strong enough to pick up pancake.
Hello, I'm Hot Toddy, and welcome to an all-new episode of Get Real. It's been a while since I've done one of these solo. I don't even remember the last time I did one of these solo, but this is because the most recent movie that I saw, I did not see with Miss Pingrino, so therefore I have to cover this one solo on this go-around. And on this edition of Get Real, we are going to be covering the new spy comedy film, Argylle, which is, I gotta say, I have mixed reviews for it. It's very confusing in terms of how exactly one is going to review it. I mean, it's very hard. It's a very hard film to review, but we're going to get into it. Let's see if we can just break it down accordingly here.
Good luck. We're all counting on you.
This was a movie that had more twists and turns than I have ever seen in any type of media. And you know, this film is an action comedy. It's not a parody. It's not like an Austin Powers type or anything like that, or a Leslie Nielsen type movie. It's not a parody film. It's an action comedy about spies. And so, you know, and the premise of the story is that Bryce Dallas Howard is an author, and the stories that she writes, coincidentally, are happening in real life. Everything she's writing about in all of her Argylle mystery stories are coming true in real life. And so she gets caught in this web of good and evil as she tries to help Sam Rockwell crack a case for the secret agency, you know, and all this. And so, you know, that's the premise of the film. And you think that's the way it's going to be. It's going to be standard. And as it turns out, though...
Oh no, I've gone cross-eyed.
This movie has like 400 different plots. It's kind of insane. I've never seen a movie that could start out one way, then go this way, then go that way, then go this way, then go that way. And I know what you're thinking, well, Hot Toddy, there's plenty of movies that do that. Not really. Not in the way that this movie does. Just there is a plot twist around every single corner, and you're never expecting it. And like, for instance, the biggest plot twist of the film is what you see before going into the movie. You've seen the trailer for Argylle. You've seen how Henry Cavill plays this huge role. And then even in the poster has him right up front, and John Cena's there with him, all these people that look like they play major roles in the film, and then you see Bryce Dallas Howard and Sam Rockwell kind of towards the back of the poster. Spoiler alert, that's the first twist right there. You get a huge twist before you even walk in the theater, because that's not the case. John Cena maybe makes 2 appearances in the entire film. Dua Lipa plays a big role in the trailer and also on the poster. She's in 1 scene. That's it. She is in 1 scene of the entire film. That's it. And then Henry Cavill pops up every now and then throughout the film, but he is not the main character. Again, my thought process was, okay, so Bryce Dallas Howard is writing this book, and everything that's happening in her books is happening in real life, and the real Agent Argylle is Henry Cavill. That's not the case. Henry Cavill is the made-up character in her books. And so you think, okay, so how's this going to go? And then well, I'm not going to spoil anything. I don't want to do the big spoilers here, but you'll learn very quickly as the movie begins that Henry Cavill is not going to play the major role in this film. The main character of this film is Bryce Dallas Howard, and the secondary main character of this film is Sam Rockwell. Those are the 2 main characters of the film. So don't be deceived by the trailer. Don't be deceived by the poster. Henry Cavill, John Cena, they're almost irrelevant. It was almost a waste to have them in the movie. There's really no reason for them to be in the movie. For some reason, though, they play a prominent role in the trailer and in the poster, and that's just not the case. Bryce Dallas Howard is the main focus of the film, so, which is fine, because that's the next thing I want to get to. I love Bryce Dallas Howard in anything she is. That woman is a delight. I think part of the reason why she's such a delight is from the family that she comes from. Hell, she's Ron Howard's daughter. Ron Howard's a delight. His brother's a delight. His father and his mother were delights. That whole family is delightful. We all love the Howard family. So it doesn't surprise me that Bryce Dallas Howard is just genuinely charismatic and just fun to watch on screen. And she kills this role, you know. And Sam Rockwell was another great example of that. I love Sam Rockwell pretty much in any movie he's in. I have loved him since Galaxy Quest. He was hilarious in that, and then he kind of got stacked on as sort of like the straight man in every dark comedy film, or you know, or dramatic film, but he comes off as kind of like the grumpy guy, or just a straight up bad guy, and he can play that role well. He plays really any role he's given super well, and this is another great example of that. So Bryce Dallas Howard and Sam Rockwell were the highlights of this film, and that's another thing, that you know, the whole cast itself was great, because even though Henry Cavill, John Cena, Dua Lipa, they don't play major roles, everybody else in the film was fantastic. I mean, it was weird how they all worked well together. You never would have thought of this group of people coming together and making a good film, you know, like Sam Rockwell, Bryce Dallas Howard, Bryan Cranston, Catherine O'Hara. It's great to see her in anything. So I mean, of course she was going to be great, but to see this group of people that you wouldn't think would come together and make a great film, they did great. And that was kind of one of the things I was worried about going into it, was this going to be one of those bad mass cast films? Miss Pingrino and I were actually talking about it beforehand, how a lot of those big cast movies don't do very well. The perfect example of those is Valentine's Day and New Year's Eve. This movie had both those movies had giant casts, and neither one of them did very well. So you wonder if the mass cast type films are like box office poison. So I was a little worried going into this. This movie hasn't been doing immensely great, but it's been doing all right. But I don't think the cast has anything to do with it, because the cast works really, really well. So one of the biggest highlights is the cast, and of course, getting back to what I was talking about a minute ago, Bryce Dallas Howard and Sam Rockwell, top tier performances for them. But getting back to the twists and turns of this film, I actually leaned over to my mother, because again, if you're new to Get Real, the majority of the time that either myself and or Miss Pingrino see movies, it's usually because my parents takes us. That's right. We go every once in a while on our own to see a movie, but 9 times out of 10, my parents are like, we're coming to Knoxville, we want to go see a movie with you guys. So they'll just go and pay for a movie for us. In this case, I went to go visit them, and we went to go see Argylle together. And I leaned over to my mother and what ended up being the last big twist of the film, and I said, I need a break from this movie. I did, because my mind couldn't handle any more twists and turns. And the twists and turns of the film, I think, in a weird way, hurt it and help it at the same time. It hurt the film because there was no clear path, and you felt like after a while, are they just tacking on these twists just to make it seem interesting, or is there like a real reason why we're doing it? Did they really think that this was the best idea for the film? And then, lo and behold, when the twist is revealed and you get deeper into it, you realize, oh, okay, it does help the film. It actually does work. But your annoyance as an audience member watching this film kind of bubbles to the surface when you think, oh God, there's another twist. You're doing this again. Why do you keep doing this to us? So there was positives and negatives when it came to the twists and turns in the film. Most of them were good and they led to something. But again, if you're watching it as just a general audience member, you might get like, good God, enough already. Everything was going great, and then they did another twist. Why are you doing this?
'Tis confusion!
So I think it both hurt and helped the film to have all these, because it did create an interesting story. But I mean, if anybody's going to have a complaint about this movie, it's that the twists were just constantly, just non-stop, and got to a point where they were almost annoying. And if it wasn't annoying enough that there were so many twists and turns, there's also the running time of the film. Listen, we've talked about this on past episodes of Get Real. We know that the regular time nowadays for bigger films is no shorter than 2 hours. You're going to have to at least allow 2 hours. But 9 times out of 10, it's going to be 2.5 hours, 2 hours 45 minutes, and then sometimes they get super daring and do 3-hour movies. This movie clocked in at 2 hours and 20 minutes. This is not the type of film that needed a 2 hour and 20 minute running time. You could have, again, this is where like the twists hurt the film. They had to, I guess, allow so much time to do all these weird twists and all these, you know, crazy things that they wanted to do. They had to allow for all of that, so they gave it 2 hours and 20 minutes, which again, and getting back to it hurting the film, you didn't have to do that. You could have very easily had just done, at the very least, you know, a very most 2 hour movie. Do a 2 hour movie with all these twists and turns, with all these, you know, crazy shenanigans going on. But it was 2 hours and 20 minutes. That's almost, well, that is as long as some Marvel movies, but almost the length of some of your bigger epic Marvel films or Star Wars films. Like, you don't have to go that far. You could have wrapped that up in 95 minutes, maybe 2 hours at the most, but the running time was intense. So, you know, I know this is going to fall on deaf ears, but word to Hollywood, if you're going to make just a generic film of some sort, because I mean that's what this is. I mean it's an action comedy, it's a spy thriller or spy comedy. There's no reason to make it epic length. You know, there is no reason to make it so long that the audience begins to just check out. You need to make them a standard time, and I think somewhere in between 90 minutes and 120 minutes would be good. Maybe 100 minutes, you know, right there, that's a good middle section right there. I don't think you need it any longer than 2 hours, but definitely maybe look into finding a happy medium between your typical running time of a film and the 2 hour mark, because the movie was too long. That's another complaint I have, is that the movie was just too long. You could have taken out some of those twists and just kind of packed it in a little bit more and made it a little shorter.
Why are you the way that you are?
Excuse me a second. I got my big dumb cup. That's right, I'm a basic bitch. I've got one of the big cups with lots of water in it. Sue me.
We're all about them big dumb cups.
The next thing we got to talk about, and again, Hollywood has to really, I think, pick and choose which movies they're going to do stuff like this for. The CGI. This is a movie that really didn't require a whole lot of CGI. I harken back to the Mission Impossible movies, including this most recent one. Now, I know that, you know, Tom Cruise is insane. He's going to do his own stunts. He's going to do those crazy things. So Mission Impossible, you're going to get more practical effects. I get that. But again, spy thriller. We even look at, you know, the James Bond films. To this day, they do real explosions, practical things, stuntmen, they do fun stuff. But this movie relied heavily on CGI, and it did not look good. It did not work out well. The CGI was laughable in this movie. It looked like early CGI. Like, there's some movies like your Marvel movies, like your Star Wars films, you know, sci-fi epics, where you could get away with CGI if it looks good. But it's blatantly obvious in movies like this when you use CGI the way they did it. A prime example, early in the film, Henry Cavill as Argylle, air quote, is driving this little vehicle in Greece, and he's like he goes airborne for a second. And the way they shoot it, the way it gets shot, he's like flying from a roof and getting ready to land on a road. This is what he looked like as he was going down. You could just tell, like, it was doing like a frame by frame of the CGI, and it really wasn't fooling anybody. It was not smooth. It did not work. They didn't get like a different shot, so it wouldn't look. They held on Henry Cavill in this little vehicle, and you could just see the fakeness. You could just see the shaky cam as it was going down to the next location, and it just looked awful. I rolled my eyes. And then there was another scene where Sam Rockwell and Bryce Dallas Howard escape from a train, and they use a parachute to do it. It was so fakey looking. And then the fakiest fake thing was through the majority of the movie, because you've probably seen in the poster, you've probably seen also in the trailers, that there is a cat that plays a prominent role in this film. We're going to talk more about the cat. But the majority of the film, the cat is CGI. And I get if you're going to, because there's a scene, again, you've seen it in the trailer, where he gets flipped up in the air and he is like slow-mo. And obviously for scenes like that, you're going to get a CGI cat. But there was a scene where the cat jumps up on the desk to interact with Sam Rockwell, and the cat was CGI. I was like, what? But if you're going to go that route, if you're going to have a cat in the film, then I don't understand why, you know, for just one scene, 1 or 2 scenes, you could just have a cat jump on a table. It looked so bad. It was clearly a CGI cat. And again, if it was like, you know, like a CGI, if the cat had turned into a monster or something, like in The Mask, when Milo, the dog, puts on the mask, that Milo, the mask Milo, he is a CG character. You can tell that. But when he doesn't have the mask on, he's a normal dog. So that was why I was like, for just one scene, you couldn't have a normal cat jump onto the table with Sam Rockwell. It just didn't make a lot of sense. But regardless, though, CG or not, I will say one of the biggest highlights is that cat, because the cat plays a major role in the life of Bryce Dallas Howard's character. It's super entertaining, all the things that the cat does and has to go through with all this adventure. So it's very entertaining. I think the cat's the best part, or at least one of the top parts. And here's the biggest shock of all. Well, maybe it wasn't as big a shock as I thought, but as we were watching it and as the things that were happening in it, some of the things that were happening in it made me think about The Kingsman. It seemed very much like a Kingsman movie. There's this one scene where they're having a shootout with the bad guys and they throw around all this colorful like smoke bombs and they do this dance routine and they're shooting and it looks very artistic, and it made me think of like a scene from one of the Kingsman movies, and I was thinking, man, this seems very Kingsman. Spoiler alert. Mid-credit scene, a young Argylle is at the Kingsman's bar. So this movie takes place in the Kingsman universe. I had no idea about this, and I was stunned. I was like, wait, okay, it all makes sense now. All of these things, all of these like little hints that I was getting throughout the film make total sense. It takes place in the Kingsman universe. Apparently this is what the director wanted. He wanted to expand on it and kind of create like a mini Kingsman cinematic universe, which is pretty cool. The only problem is, and I don't quite understand, is that Samuel L. Jackson is also in this movie, but he was in the original Kingsman movie playing a different character. So I don't know if they just don't care if that's a thing, if they're just saying, whatever, he's playing a new character now, it doesn't matter. I don't know. Maybe it's indirectly involved with the Kingsman universe. It didn't go into great detail. It just shows him at the Kingsman bar. And so I don't know exactly how that's going to work. I'll be interested to see. That's one of the more interesting things. I'll be interested to see if they do a sequel to this film and see if it's going to expand on the universe at all. But yeah, so this movie takes place in the Kingsman universe, in case you were wondering. So that's pretty cool. I know it seems like I was dogging this film a lot, but really, overall, it was a fun film. It is a entertaining film. It's a film that will keep you on your toes. It's one that, you know, it's definitely exciting and it's funny. And like I said, the actors are a delight. You know, you can overlook the CGI, you know, mishaps, and you know, and if you can sit there and deal with plot twist after plot twist after plot twist after plot twist, you know, and just stay engaged with it, it's a fun movie to watch and enjoy. So, you know, again, it's not the greatest film ever made. I don't think it's doing super well at the box office, but I think it definitely deserves your attention. It's a fun film for, you know, anybody to go out and see. I know, you know, we just got done with Valentine's Day, so obviously I'm not going to say go out for Valentine's Day, but I mean, hey, it is the weekend now, so if you want to go see a fun movie this weekend, I'd say go see Argylle. So with that in mind, speaking of which, I do recommend this movie. I think it would be a lot of fun for anybody to see. Of course, we're a couple of weeks already from it premiering now. I think Madam Web is out at this point, so you know, you may not want to see it, but it's worth the watch. If you don't see it in theaters, I would say wait till it comes out on streaming. I've talked about this before. I'm heavy into owning physical media. I don't know if I'll get it on physical media. I only buy physical media for the movies that I absolutely love, and so I don't know if I'll go down that route with it, but overall, I did think it was a pretty fun movie and definitely worth a watch. So, Argylle, go check it out in theaters now. Well, even though she wasn't here on this episode, Miss Pingrino did want to stop by and say hi to everybody. So please welcome everybody, the one and only Miss Pingrino! Did you get shorter?